In this lesson, we're going to look at writing for communication on the web. In this lesson, you will list the components of good writing for websites, relate an inverted pyramid to a writing style for web pages, describe how headlines can be used for web designers' advantage, describe eye tracking and how it affects the way readers read web pages, and be able to describe hyperlinks and explain how to use them appropriately on hypertext links and how to use them on web pages. Here's what I want you to think about. What is the most important part of a web page? List 3 important factors to consider when writing for the web. What is the typical order of content in paragraph writing? Is the order effective for web pages? And how do people actually read web pages? If you remember from last time, we talked about the refinement process. And we looked at what refinement is, and it's an iterative process about looking at the typefaces, the headers, and text, the appearances of images, color schemes, and they are detailed and they are tested. So it's basically a rough draft. Alright, so let's look at about what we think about web pages. Does anyone really read what is written? Now, it says discuss, and we're online, and we're not having a discussion topic on this, but think about the difference between reading a book, a magazine, a newspaper, a web page, and think about how you read each one differently. What constitutes good writing? Conventions, right? If you have a web page, you want to make sure everything is spelled correctly, you have proper grammar, and you have good sentence structure. Okay? The difference between writing your paper for an English teacher and making a web page is your web page could be live for everybody to see. Most of your English papers are turned in, and sometimes you share them with classmates, sometimes you don't, but it's a limited audience. A web page is open for everybody. The other one is content. Okay? The quality of information that's being conveyed. Make sure you have your content relates to what you're talking about, and make sure it's of a high quality. When writing for the web, you need to be aware of how people read web pages, okay? As well as the nature of hypertext itself. So we're going to look a little bit more about that. How does reading a web page differ from reading a page of text? Remember, with a web page, you scan content rather than every word. Remember, we talked about the F design. They look at the front, the main topic, and they also look down the side, and then it gets less as they go down the page. And that was several lessons ago, but it's a good thing to remember. Now, also thinking about writing. How does writing differ for the web? How does writing for the web differ than normal writing? In your classic academic writing, you follow a pyramid structure that lays a foundation, and you support your information with research and data, and then it follows with a conclusion. For the web, you're going to put the essential information first because you want to catch the reader's attention or the viewer's attention, and then the details follow. And then, so you want to grab, and we talked about this a little bit with splash pages, but you want to grab the reader's and viewer's attention right off the bat. Okay? And then you'll put in your details where needed. Okay, tips. Readers do not scroll. So typically readers will not scroll down the page, so put the critical information first. Okay? Group your content into small, bite-sized pieces of information. This makes the text much easier to read on a screen, so group it together. Use a heading, right, to your advantage. If you have a major on each page, your heading should describe what that page is about. Hypertext links could be used, as well as font colors and color variations. Alright, so remember we talked about this in a couple previous lessons, but studies show how I spend the most time. They suggest that the areas contain the most heavy consumed content. users tend to read in the F pattern and focus on the information that is presented in bulleted list. So remember we have the examples, and if we look at this website again, but remember we have these examples of how people read the web page. So if you look right here in this example right here, they start with the main, and the more where the red is where they spend more time focusing, but look how they hardly focus anything down at the bottom of the page. Alright, so for your activity, use an F pattern for content on the page, so make sure you put the essential stuff first, and put your essential information first, details follow, and you let the user make the decision to read more or go to the next page. Alright, that is it for this lesson, and make sure the most important thing is when you write for the web, it's not like your Facebook, and you should probably use these practices for your Facebook as well, but when you write for a web page, you need to make sure that you are using proper conventions, your correct spelling, grammar, and sentence structure, and that your content is quality and you have high quality content, and that you're conveying the information that needs to be conveyed for your web page.